Welcome to the Podcast Profits Unleashed podcast on Mintwave Radio and all podcast platforms. If you're a coach, consultant, therapist or healer with an online program and would like to find out how to grow your business whilst having fun podcasting, go to podcastprofitsunleashed.com/free. Let's dive into today's episode.
Welcome back to the Podcast Profits Unleashed podcast, where we dive into topics that empower you to thrive in your passions. Today's episode is all about staying in your own lane and why it's crucial for success, especially in the world of podcasting. My name is Karen Roberts, helping coaches and experts start, launch and grow their podcast. Picture this, if you will. You're driving down a busy motorway or highway if you're in the States, and you're surrounded by lanes filled with other cars, all rushing to their destinations. Each lane represents a different path, a different journey. Now, imagine if you started swerving between lanes, trying to keep up with every other car around you. Chaos, right? Absolute chaos. That's what happens when we lose focus on our own path and start comparing ourselves to others. When you stay in your own lane, you position yourself as a specialist rather than a generalist. You become the go-to resource, the expert in your field. But it wasn't until I learned this lesson the hard way that I truly understood its power. Let me take you back to when I first launched the Raising Vibrations podcast network on Podbean. I also thought it'd be a great idea to take on a radio station as well. Same content, different platform. I was determined to provide a platform for all types of coaches and experts. But as the network grew, I found myself being stretched too thin, trying to juggle too many responsibilities. I was running sales trainings for some clients, organic marketing for others. I had my own podcast to record, edit, and promote, plus running the network and the radio station. I was busy being busy. And it wasn't long before I started feeling like a complete failure. Then one day I was sat at my desk in my flat and I received an email from a host who was just about to renew her show that week, except she wasn't. She explained that despite her initial excitement, she didn't see the growth that she had hoped for and she had decided to call it quits. That email hit me hard. I was in feast and famine mode anyway, and looking forward to a year's subscription at least. This was now the 14th show since I started to quit. It was a wake-up call. We all know the stats that 90% of podcasters don't make it to episode 3, and then 90% of those that do make it past episode 3 don't make it past episode 20. I've said this before on a previous episode, and I realized that providing a platform was not enough. I needed to do more to support our hosts on that journey to success. Now, as someone who is hyper-focused ADHD, something that I've not been diagnosed with, but throughout my journey and interviewing tons of coaches on the subject, I can look back at my life and go, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It actually suited what I had spent most of my adult life doing. When I started in the fitness industry back in 91, I taught step aerobics. And then when Les Mills came on the scene, I started Body Pump because I enjoyed working out with weights anyway. So I figured it would be cool to learn a group fitness workout using a barbell and weights. They gave me the choreography and the music, and I just needed to learn that and go and weigh it and teach it. Then Body Combat. Ooh, a martial arts based workout. That looks like fun. Then Body Balance, a combination of Pilates, Tai Chi and yoga. I figured, well, that should help balance out the other high energy classes. Oh, now there's Body Jam. Great. I come from a dance background, so a bit of salsa and hip hop and other styles. That'd be fantastic to add in. So my hyper-focused ADHD helped me because it was easy for me to learn all the choreography and I loved teaching the variety. But with business, this formula does not work. Now, I had been told that before by different coaches that stick to one thing, one offer to your perfect avatar, but I didn't listen till it started to look like I was going to be out of business by the end of the year if I didn't. I was exhausted, close to burnout, tired of being trapped behind my computer all day in my flat in London. I was working all hours, including weekends, a single mum, and my girls were grown. My eldest had already left home, and the youngest was just about to leave home too, which meant that I would be on my own, stuck in a flat in London with a failing business. I realized that something needed to change drastically. I suddenly felt very alone in this world that I had created for myself, and it was scary. But I needed to ditch the things that weren't working and focus on the one thing that was. And I'm so grateful that I did. Yes, it was scary to drop everything else, as what if I don't get enough coaches to help with podcasting? It's kind of a micro niche. Podcasting is not for everyone. What if I don't make enough money if I just focus on this one thing? For me, enjoying your work is so important. That's why I stayed in the fitness industry for so long, because I loved teaching all those different types of classes. I did reach my goal of owning a fitness studio for 8 years in the Algarve, but it wasn't something I could keep doing as I wasn't getting any younger. Out of all the things that I was doing, podcasting was the one thing I loved to do. So that was the one thing I decided to focus on. Now, I know I'd been playing it safe, only interviewing other coaches instead of putting myself out there. Yeah, we hear a lot about imposter syndrome. And I didn't think that I had it because I was putting myself out there, but I was staying in my comfort zone. And as we all know, everything you want is outside of your comfort zone. So why not help other coaches get their life back whilst scaling their business and have fun along the way? That's what it's done for me. The moment I took that leap of faith and stayed in my lane, things changed. The podcast grew exponentially. My hours reduced drastically. I became a digital nomad so I can work from anywhere in the world. So I am off to the sunshine where I can get my work done and have a much better quality of life than being stuck within the four walls of my flat in London. I've had time to spend quality time with my girls. I've been off around the country visiting friends that I couldn't have done before. And I finally understand the meaning of attraction marketing because I began to have people coming to me instead of me constantly chasing. Staying in your lane means that you get to stay in your zone of genius. With all the distractions out there and feeling like you have to conform, no, you don't. If you help people get a specific goal, using podcasting as a way to get that message out there to the people who need to hear it, a podcast can be the vehicle that drives your business. If enjoying having the conversations that can shift the belief in the listener to get them to come to the conclusion themselves that they too can achieve the goal that you can help them with, it's a blessing. It's a fun way to drive your business. This is why we developed our unique process to guide coaches through every step of the podcasting journey, because we've been there from setup and launch to mapping out episodes in advance so you don't get overwhelmed or get burnt out. There's also the post-production and podcast promotion. So what we focus on is the implementation of the whole strategy. We help our hosts stay focused on their unique message and audience, empowering them to become the specialist in their niche and to stay in their lane. We realize that taking on a podcast is a big commitment and not to be taken lightly, but also not to just start on the fly. It takes time to do the prep and get crystal clear on the pieces of the puzzle that are going to make it a success. We used to advise having 4 recorded in advance, but now we say have 12 weeks in advance. That is only going to benefit you. We take you through all the things that need to be done for each episode. If they're all ready before you even launch, you have a complete strategy, which means you will get back your time. Then it's easy to record one show a week from there. As if life gets in the way, as it does, and it always will, you'll always be a few steps ahead. No stress. One of the biggest obstacles for staying in your own lane is a temptation to compare yourself to others. It's easy to feel like you're falling behind if you see other people gaining traction, doing things that you hadn't considered. But remember, your journey is unique and your voice matters. So embrace your niche and you'll attract your tribe that resonates with your message. When you can find a way to stop comparing yourself to everybody else and focus on your journey in your lane, you will get there as long as you make a commitment to completion. It is a long-term strategy, and I know that everyone is looking for that quick fix. It's tempting to chase after every shiny opportunity. I know that because I've searched for them myself. But the one consistent thing was my podcast. And now looking back, I'm so grateful I didn't give up, even when the stats weren't so good, because 80% of the work is just simply showing up. Time and resources can hold us back from staying in our own lane, but spreading yourself too thin only dilutes your message and exhausts your energy. Instead, focus on what truly matters to you and your audience. Invest your time and resources wisely, and you'll see greater results in the long run. So what's the next step for you? Take a moment to reflect on your own journey. Are you staying in your own lane, or are you swerving between lanes trying to keep up with everyone else? If you're ready to connect with your niche and be a specialist in your field, then it's time to take action. Reach out to us today and discover how our process can help you thrive in your podcasting journey. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Start now and watch as your podcast grows and flourishes in ways that you never imagined. So thanks for tuning in today for this episode of the Podcast Profits Unleashed podcast. Remember, the road to success is paved with focus, determination, and staying in your own lane. I'll be back next week. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to today's episode on the Podcast Profits Unleashed podcast. If you're a coach, consultant, therapist, or healer who would like to drive sales whilst having fun podcasting, head over to podcastprofitsunleashed.com/free and find out how you can turn your podcast into a sales machine. We'll see you on the next episode.